G'day guys, welcome to a quick podcast with Clarkie's Column. Today I am joined with Charlie from LeagueCentral, who is the largest news source for NRL on Instagram. I'll pass it over to you quickly to say g'day, Charlie.
G'day guys, good to be here.
Awesome. All right, guys, today we're going to cover off on some of the latest news in rugby league. So, of course, we will start the show with the women's NRL competition. The NRL have confirmed that this will not be expanded in the 2019 season. The same 4 teams will be competing. Charlie, what are your thoughts on this? Would an expansion have been good?
I think expansion would have been good. I think, the 4 teams, the finals format, it was good, the format it was, but I'm talking about, I reckon starting a little bit later on in the season and having it go and played on NRL Grand Final day, so it gives them that good finals fixture, not just, one game per NRL finals game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And the format at the moment, it doesn't feel like a competition. It feels more of a tournament. And I think if the NRL want the game to be taken a little bit more seriously for women, then expansion is needed. I do sort of see from the NRL side of house that, potentially expanding a little bit too early and then potentially hurting the women's game. But I do think an expansion would be better.
100% agree with you. 100%.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, our next bit of news, guys, is Gowens signs on to fight Hopawate sometime in February. Now, I want to get your tip for this fight, Charlie. Who do you have winning? But then I also want to ask, should Gowens' focus be elsewhere given the amount of adversity the club he is captain of is currently facing?
Yeah, mate, I think Gallen will win, I reckon, if I'm being honest. But I think he needs to focus on the season. They're in a lot of trouble at the moment. Yeah. I mean, at the moment they've got 2 interim coaches. Is it John Morris and Jim Dimmick? And they've just lost their coach that took them to a 2016 grand final. So I think he as captain should take his focus off whatever stupid things going on in his world and focus just on the Sharks. Because
absolutely, with Flanagan, with Flanagan gone though, they do need a leader. Obviously, with 2 interim coaches, they do have a sense of leadership there, but the man that has captained them for almost the past decade now is definitely someone the younger generation will be looking to. And I think, they've lost their star player, their best player, Valentine Holmes. They've lost all their jersey sponsors. They've lost their coach. They're a couple million in debt, and they've just got another $800,000 fine. And I think for Gallen with all of that going on, as tough as it may be, I don't think he can just put that in the back of his mind and, go out and do this boxing fight. I think his focus has to be elsewhere, surely.
Yeah, 100%. If you're being realistic, I think Gow's last season will be 2019. If you're being realistic, he could play on. Who knows? He's played on in the past. But, yeah, if you're being realistic, this is his last season to, pretty much stake his claim and show his potential. Because if he stuffs it up, he's just going to stuff the Sharks up even more.
I mean, he's 6 losses off the most in NRL history. Could you imagine if the Sharks have an absolutely disastrous year? He claims the title of the most losses ever. He is not going to do himself any favours towards being remembered. Let's move on to our next topic, though. Now, the West Tigers are rumoured that they may need to shed a player. If you guys read my column on this, I couldn't confirm the validity of that report. As I said, the West Tigers CEO confirmed they did have the money to sign Hayne, who had an asking price of $700,000. Now, the amount reduced from their salary cap, I believe, is $639,000. So I wasn't the best at math, but I'm doing the figures in my head right now, and that report isn't exactly adding up. The only player they have signed since then is Zane Musgrove, and that yet has not been registered with the NRL. However, for the point of this segment, we will assume they do need to shed a player. Now, Charlie, if the West Tigers had to shed one of their higher profile players, who do you think would be the most inclined to leave that club?
Well, mate, I think I'd say Farah. I wouldn't want to see Farah go because of the circumstances. I mean, he's come back to the club, the big Benji and him playing together again. And I love him at the Tigers. I reckon
it's where he belongs.
Yeah, it's
where he belongs. 100%.
If it takes like a real player to, stand up, put his hand up, and say, "I'll take one for the team." I think just on that comment, he shouldn't be shown the door. No way. He's that club pretty much.
I mean, he's a club man through and through. And me and you did have a little look through their top roster at the moment, and we tried to identify a man. The only other man we identified potentially was Chris McQueen. Now, we're not sure how much money he's on exactly at the Tigers, but regardless, he has only played, I think, 3 NRL games.
I think it was something like 3, since joining.
So, I mean, realistically, they have signed premiership winning back rower Ryan Madison, who can step right into the shoes of that Chris McQueen may have been needed to fill. But realistically, the Tigers are only looking at Chris McQueen as a depth player. I think he'd be better off trying to continue his career elsewhere, perhaps. And I do think if he was to seek a release, the Tigers would not stand in his way. Let's move on to our next bit of news. The Canberra Raiders have announced Josh Hodgson will be the co-captain with Jared Croker in 2019. Now, for me, I don't see this benefiting the club too much, but there is some positive factors this could add. Do you think it was necessary to make them co-captains, though?
Look, I guess based on Hodgson's, I'd say, 2017, 2018 form, I mean, he deserves it. He's a great player.
Yeah.
But I mean, they need to focus on playing footy. I mean, they've lost so many close games that could put them straight into the finals. And I think with Croker there already, he's a leader. He's one of the most underrated players in the entire game. And
definitely.
I think there was no need to do it. I mean, hat off to him. He's a gun player, Hodgson. But in my opinion, they didn't need to do it, but it'll probably benefit them as well, having 2 leaders out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The only reason I can sort of target as to why they would want to do this is potentially with their new English recruits. They've got a well-established English player at the club, Ian Hodgson, and potentially he can work to leading around these new boys a little bit more. But I don't see them benefiting from it too much. On to our second last bit of news. Now, the Sharks are obviously in debt. We all know that. They've just copped another heavy fine. And there are reports today they may be relocated. Now, there is certainly no evidence to suggest that this is the case so far. However, the reality is, if the club does go under and cannot afford to buy themselves out of debt, then the NRL will take ownership of that club, and that is when relocating becomes a very scary reality for the Sharks. Now, Charlie, would you like to see the Sharks relocated, and do you think their fans could still support them if they became the Perth Sharks?
I think I wouldn't want to see them relocated, no way. I think they lose a lot of fans. I mean, at the moment, I'm sure there's a lot of disappointed Sharks fans.
Yeah.
It's exactly like what happened with the Titans a few years ago. They were struggling a lot.
We were.
The NRL stepped in, helped them out. There was talk of them relocating as well.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, it's been talked for a long time. I think since 2013 or something that Cronulla, there's been talk of them relocating, but I can't see it happening. And I think they would lose a lot of fans over this as well.
Yeah. See, the problem the Sharkies have is they can't expand the club further because they're right on the barrier of the St. George Illawarra Dragons. So they're sort of confined to this one space within New South Wales. Look, if you're a Sharkies fan, I would really strongly encourage you, go out and buy whatever sort of membership you can. Get behind your club.
Get on board. 100%.
I feel so bad for the Sharks because...
Oh, me too, man. They're in a lot of trouble. Like you said, no jersey sponsors. And
and on the no jersey sponsors, what time of year we're in Christmas? Everyone wants to buy NRL-related presents for NRL fans, but who wants to give a jersey with no sponsors as a present?
That's it, man. 100%.
The Sharks have lost a lot of potential money by not having those sponsors sorted. Let's move on to our last bit of news. Wayne Bennett reportedly tells Alex Johnston, "You will not be my fullback in 2019. You will be on the wing." Now, there is 3 big questions that come with this. Let's start with the first one. Which position does Alex Johnston play best in, for your opinion? Now, you're obviously very well equipped to answer this question, given you are a South Sydney diehard fan.
Oh, yeah, look, I think Johnston will be on the wing. They've got blokes who can do the job at fullback real well. I think Johnston is a class winger. He started on the wing.
Yeah.
He's only played, before this year, he's only played, a handful of games at fullback. And I'm pretty sure that he'll be a big benefit on the wing. Him and I think Campbell Graham it'll be. I'm not sure about Jennings yet, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, he'll be great on the wing. He scored 5 tries or something in one game last year, and that was ridiculous as a winger. So
exactly, I definitely agree. His best position is on the wing, and like you just touched on, Robert Jennings. To me, that indicates, given the previous rumours that Bennett told him his position is not secure, if he's just told Johnston you're on the wing, to me, that indicates that Jennings is as good as gone from that club. Now, how much do you think you guys will miss him in 2019?
I think he'll be a big loss. He'll be a massive loss. But, I mean, they've got kids like Campbell Graham in there and like Alex Johnston who can do the job, but he'll be a huge loss. Jennings, I think he was the 2nd or 3rd highest try scorer this year. And he's going to be a huge loss.
I agree in that regard, but I will say whoever does take that wing spot, if it is a youngster, they'll be playing outside Greg Inglis, which is obviously huge for their confidence, playing outside 100%. Your captain. And, I mean, we've seen how many tries at the highest level of our game, State of Origin, Greg Inglis produced with just a little 100%. Offload to Darius Boyd in the open there on the wing or himself. But the question now is, all right, so Greg Inglis plays centre. That leaves Corey Allen for fullback. Do you think he's ready for the NRL?
I'm pretty sure he is. I mean, look at the kid. I think he's 21 or something. He's played PM's 13 and he hasn't even played a game of NRL yet. Like he's a great talent, that kid, and I think he's going to be a huge asset to that club. There's no way they'd sign him and not play him, especially with the skills he possesses too. Like he's an absolute gun. If you've seen him play, he's an asset to any team.
Well, one thing he does have in his favour is he has previously worked with Bennett at the Broncos, obviously. Now, a lot of people point to, the Broncos didn't lock this kid up. Maybe he's not that good. But, they've recently just locked up the reigning Dally M Rookie of the Year in Jermaine Asako, who the club views as their long-term fullback. Now, the chances are, once Corey Allen's contract expired, he saw that. He wasn't too keen, and he sees himself with a real genuine opportunity at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I think it's great he's backed himself, and I do see him getting, if not a lot of game time in 2019, he will definitely, 100%. Mark my words, he will make his NRL debut around State of Origin time, if not in round 1. Alright guys, that is all the news we had today to cover off on in the last couple days of this crazy off-season. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, let us know in the comments section your thoughts on some of the topics we discussed. I'm going to pass it over to Charlie now to say goodbye.
Thanks guys. So like and subscribe. Also follow Clarkie's column on Instagram.
Beautiful. And make sure you are following League Central also, guys. Cheers. Have a good one.